When most people think about New York City, they think about skyscrapers, Central Park, the taxis, and the subway. They think of an extravagant place where rich stockbrokers go to work and movie stars go to play. But far outside Manhattan, there's another New York. Beyond the final subway stops, there are no cabs and few buses around to take people where they need to go. Out here in the outer boroughs, the hardworking men and women who populate mostly immigrant neighborhoods have been neglected by the city. And this is the story of a man with the vision to bring these people a better way to travel, and the courage to fight the powerful special interests who want to keep him out.
My name is Hector Ricketts. I'm the owner and president of Community Transportation Systems, Inc., which is a passenger transportation service here in New York City. We transport most of our people who are going to work, they're going to seek a job, they're going to the hospital, or they're taking a child to daycare or to school.
The number one reason why people ride commuter vans is because they're faster.
MTA buses wasn't that frequent on the road. It was one bus every 45 minutes or every hour.
A city bus operator will sit at the bus stop at the beginning of the route and wait until his or her scheduled time, while there are 30 people standing out there like a day like today, freezing cold. We see passengers, we move.
Less than 2 minutes, 3 minutes, 5 minutes, a van in load.
He's there most of the time waiting on me.
These people leave work, so the bus takes so long to come at times. They're in the cold, they want to go home.
The bus have to make more stops. If there is an accident here, we can able to go up that street, hit that left or that right, and get back on the route. And
we offer the option of door-to-door service.
I offer it many times over. Yeah. Especially at night, especially with females, especially what's happening in the world now today. You have to try to bring people safe.
Single parents, single moms, going home, scary out here at night, the stores closed down, the street corner is dead. They just want to get in something that they can go home.
I'm going home right in the afternoon and I'm worrying because, oh boy.
Are you gonna have to take the
Mm-hmm. To take the train, I have to come out of my house like 6 o'clock in the morning, 5:30, to reach on time. Yeah. So this is really reliable.
once you're dealing with the public, you have to have a good attitude. For me, I try to have a good attitude at all times.
Whenever a passenger pay me, I always say thank you very much, because I appreciate the money, just like how they appreciate the ride.
In 1978, Hector and his wife traveled to New York City from their home in Jamaica for vacation. When they saw the vast opportunities available in the United States, Hector got a student visa and moved his family to Queens. He never set out to own a commuter van service.
While I was employed at the hospital as a director, I had purchased a van, and so every morning before work and every evening after work, I would drive my van transporting passengers. When my hospital went into financial problems and decided to downsize, instead of beating the pavement, searching for jobs, or joining the unemployment line, I decided I will plunge full-time into the transportation business.
I don't think our present generation will truly appreciate what he's doing now, because many times it's long after you're gone that one looks back and see what was really happening.
Finding clients was not a problem. There were folks who wanted to use our service. The biggest part of our problem was the government standing in our way.
The more you remove yourself from the subterranean economy, is the more you're being observed. Competition to mass transit.
Even though the MTA had been, neglecting consumers, the bus drivers realized that it was an infringement on their ability to maintain bus service and to keep the route. So there's always been a clash between the drivers and the bands.
With that, the drivers found themselves at a disadvantage. Many were not necessarily having their right documentation, whether it be from a transportation standpoint or from an immigration standpoint. And these, of course, these are presentable opportunities for the system to shut you down.
The government perceiving us as competitors to the mass transit transportation system. And so there were so many obstacles in our way that removing those obstacles almost became a full-time job. No victory came until the Institute for Justice got involved and took the commuter vans on as their clients.
The city argued that because these were public streets, the city had the authority to regulate all activity that went on, and in doing so to allocate the means of transportation available to the public. I'd done a study called Is New York City Killing Entrepreneurship? And in the course of the research for that study, I'd looked at different occupations in New York that were subject to licensing and permitting laws. So once I became aware of the van issue up there, it wasn't long before Hector Ricketts came to my attention as the leader, the hero, and the champion of this whole issue. And so I set up a meeting with him and instantly realized this is a great case and a great opportunity.
Especially in the 80s and in the 90s, the management at MTA had not been working to improve the types of bus service or create express buses that they have now. All of those things, they were taking their customers for granted.
Minibuses and minivans are a way of life throughout the Caribbean. And so I saw this as a new way for those new immigrants to empower themselves, to be able to pay their rent, to educate their children, and to make sure that they have a good family life.
Most of these groups are usually marginalized. They're usually pushed out to the outer skirts in the city. It usually takes them longer, have a longer commute, but then they don't have the regular public transportation services that you do on the inner parts of the city, and that's where these private mass transportation companies spawn up.
As it evolved, of course, it's an environment that is not controlled. Opportunities are there, so therefore a person, if you're fed lemons, you make lemonade. This is what happened here. A fantastic lemonade stand was created. Commuter vans.
These were hardworking entrepreneurs who provided a desperately needed transportation service that at the time of the lawsuit was providing transportation for over 60,000 people a day.
And those people only paid $1 per ride, whereas city buses charge passengers a fare of $1.50 while depending heavily on taxpayer subsidies. For example, the Q5 route in Queens required a subsidy of $3.96 per rider just to break even. Commuter vans are unsubsidized.
All these guys that you see out there, they're not taking a dime from the government. And we are able to provide almost the same service at a lower cost than the government.
They had one big problem. They were outlaws.
The city could limit the number of vans that could operate. They would limit the areas in which I operate. They would limit the duration of my authorization. And it also says that I'm prohibited from discharging or picking up passengers on any street in the city where buses travel.
Frankly, a cost of doing business for the vans is periodic crackdowns and harassments by the police.
Cops, you know, we just get tickets, you know. Yeah. A ton load of tickets.
One police officer used to target me so much. Every time he see me in the gas station, he would come in there and give me a ticket. That used to be the old DMV. I used to go to that place 5 days a week. Every week, it's like I were working for the courthouse. That's all. I wasn't going home with any money.
A lot of elected officials sought the support of the police department, not only to harass them, but to issue tickets. As a matter of fact, a van driver was badly injured. The police department tried to tell us that he fell into a door.
We spent up to 50% of our time just simply defending a ticket that was intended only to put us out of business.
Literally thousands of people are faced with arbitrary laws and regulations whose primary effect is to keep them out of the economy.
We went to Albany, we went to City Hall, and we lobbied, we demonstrated, we blocked the streets just to get attention. We reached out to the press.
We're here to push for legislation that will provide an industry that came into being as a result of poor and inefficient service by the Transit Authority 10 years ago.
After intense debate, the city offered van drivers a chance at legal operating status under the governance of the Taxi and Limousine Commission, provided they could meet the MTA's safety and training standards and prove need and necessity for van services in their communities. The drivers met all the requirements, but the city council did not keep its word.
You had this system that purported to give due process, but in fact always led to a predetermined outcome with no appeal.
Every application for a 2-year period that was presented to the City Council, after approval by regulatory agencies, they were stamped denied.
Back in the mid-90s, we filed a lawsuit against the City of New York and the State of New York to strike down the arbitrary impositions on vans that were created by the laws that then existed. We struck that down through litigation and enabled the vans to continue operating and broke that barrier.
In 1999, the New York Supreme Court prohibited the City Council from denying van licenses approved by the Taxi and Limousine Commission. The court did, however, leave in place a number of rules that make drivers easy targets for cops. Companies like Hector's must reapply for authorization every 6 years, and police can ticket drivers for picking up or dropping off passengers anywhere along a city bus route, not keeping a detailed passenger manifest, which no buses or cabs are required to do, or for giving passengers a lift, who simply hail them from the street.
Most streets in New York City are bus routes. And at any given time, a street that is not a bus route, if a bus happens to travel up on that street, it's then designated a bus route.
They just go ahead and put a bus lane there because they want to keep us out, thought this would keep us out and give us a fine. In the evening time, you should see the police giving us a ticket for staying out of the bus lane.
We need to be authorized to be able to pick up and drop off on the bus route.
Despite major legal obstacles, harassment from law enforcement, hostility from the Transit Workers Union, and being virtually neglected by the Taxi and Limousine Commission, each time transportation services are disrupted in New York, the city government calls on commuter van operators to keep the city moving.
Whenever the subway's on strike, they call for the commuter vans. Whenever the train is not working, commuter van. Whenever the bus strike, commuter van. Whenever the taxi strike, commuter van. Whenever the storm, all these storms, they call for commuter van. Now, even although the schools strike now, there's still commuter van. They call in commuter van now to do whatever they need us. We're here for them.
If you have a patient that is a diabetic and needs insulin at a specific time, that nurse has to get there.
It was prohibitive in cost for a home health aide to travel from Queens to come to Staten Island or Brooklyn or just to get across the bridge.
We actually take nurses via our vans from Brooklyn and Queens to Staten Island.
Every single patient that we had, that we could find, were visited by one of our nurses.
Yes.
And what was even better was that Hector sent the 2 vans with home health aides and PCWs.
Every day.
Every single day. It was an amazing feat that had been done.
That was very important to us serving our patients during that time.
You might think that the city would be grateful to Hector Ricketts and his fellow van entrepreneurs and remove the barriers that they've arbitrarily put in the way that make vans inefficient and subject to periodic harassment. Well, you'd be wrong because you'd underestimate the power of the Transit Workers Union, which is one of the most influential organizations in New York City politics.
There's no other industry or business that's been around 30 years that is marginalized or disrespected like the commuter van industry.
We are recognized only for these stuff, but after these stuff is over, nobody look forward to say, hey, guys, I respect what you did. It's like leaving us with a bag with an hole in there. It's like there's no mechanism for us.
They have the regulations locked down that is just very difficult to prosper big the American way.
Go back to get some tickets again. Go back to harass us again. That's what it's all about, sir.
Hector and the other drivers risk tickets and worse, so they can help people get to work, deliver urgently needed health care to homebound patients, and to earn a living and support their families. And from the beginning, leaders like Hector have provided a strong voice of encouragement when others would have given up.
I've often been asked, why are you so passionate and why don't you let it go? I'm passionate because it's something I believe in. I'm passionate because it impacts the lives of so many. 80% of my operators have kids in college or kids who have graduated college. I myself have 3 kids who have graduated college. I am responsible for their well-being. The nurses that we take to work on a daily basis, they have families too. The spin-off economy from what I do affects a vast number of folks in our community. So one can't help but being passionate about this. What is being done to suppress the growth and development of this business is unfair. It's un-American, and some might say it is actually immoral and illegal.
I know for our business, if we were to really have those restrictions, we would have left a long time ago.
We are fighting to make it better so that later on, when we retire, our kids and people can recognize us in the city of New York that we was working very hard.
Sometimes when I'm tired of the fight with this union and their regulations, and I'll tell him, Hector, I'm giving up. I have alternatives. He will always give me hope that, Latif, don't give up. Don't look at it like that. We could get there. Stay on.
An industry like the van plan industry that people may have laughed at or scorned, can't scorn at it no more, because children are going to school all the way to universities, homes are being bought, vehicles are being bought. I venture to say, I remember once back in the day, the Giuliani years, when he himself said that this was $100 million impact on the city of New York. That is real.
I'm extremely proud of the fact that our business puts people to work to take people to work. And oftentimes my colleagues have decided they want to throw in the towel. I am saying that the mission is not complete. And we want to leave a lasting legacy. We will continue to lobby, to fight, to negotiate with the city and the state until our business is free of the stranglehold that local laws have on us.
For the past 20 years, Hector Ricketts and the other owners and drivers have fought to protect their industry against some powerful special interests. And they've had a few modest successes. In Queens, there are now 2 places where vans can legally pick up or drop off passengers along the street. But that's just 2 places in the entire borough, and it was a nearly impossible battle just to win that small victory. We're talking about dedicated entrepreneurs, people who are mostly immigrants from the Caribbean who have brought a piece of their culture here and enriched the lives of tens of thousands of people in the least accessible parts of New York City. We don't usually spend much time thinking about the challenges faced by people who make our lives better just by doing their jobs. It's easy to take them for granted. But without community transportation systems and the other commuter van services in New York City, hundreds of thousands of people would be worse off. Riders would have fewer options, less money, less time. Drivers would have fewer opportunities to earn a living and support their families. Patients would not be able to get the health care they desperately need because nurses couldn't get to them. Yet, dedicated individuals like Hector Ricketts can make an enormous difference in their communities. This is the power of honest entrepreneurs.
When you finance a project on your own and provide a service that generates a revenue, puts people to work, provides a vital service to a community, and then government tries to shut you down, that's the hard part. That's the real hard part.